It is going to be hard to hold my excitement back in this video because the Denver Broncos just got great news while our rivals got some pretty bad news. I'm going to break it all down in this video and so much more. If you're new to this channel, my name is Ben and I break down all things Denver sports. It really helps me out if you would like and subscribe and tell me how you're feeling about this latest news in the comments. I read them all. So the NFL Players Association released their player report cards. So essentially they put out an anonymous survey to the entire league, and they had over 1,700 players fill this out, which is about 50 players per on average per team filled this out. It's a really, really good representative study of what do players think about their squad, and they rated the facilities, the coach, the ownership, how their families are treated, and so on and so forth. And the Denver Broncos, like I've been saying during our 5-game win streak, when everyone had given up on us, we'd let the Miami Dolphins score 70 points on us. We were down 28-7 to the Chicago Bears, and we rattle off a 5-game win streak. And I told you that I thought Sean Payton had flipped the culture of the Denver Broncos. And one of my favorite quotes in life, in my real job and when I look at the NFL, is the quote from Peter Drucker, who studies like how management really, and while football is different, it is all about managing people to get them to a collective goal. And Peter Drucker's quote is that strategy, or rather culture, eats strategy for breakfast. So you can have the best players, you can have like the best playbook and design, but at the end of the day, it all comes down to a winning culture. And you could have worse players, but have a better culture, and they're going to rise to it. And under Sean Payton, we have started to see the Denver Broncos jump up in this player report card, which truly is a litmus test, a dipstick into the culture. So we're going to break down not only like the great news for the Denver Broncos on this, but also the bad news that we see the Chiefs, the Chargers, and the Raiders all score on that. So again, you see the NFLPA come out here, talk about the hope for this, and then on their website they talk about the fact that 1,700 players filled it out. It is anonymous, and I think there's some skewed stats in here. It's hard to like rank your coach bad. I think the NFLPA doesn't want to like blast any head coaches, but we'll get into that in a second. So if you look here, the Denver Broncos were 20th on this list last year. They jumped up to 16th. They outpaced all of the competitors in our division, and you'll just look at lots of D's and F's when you look at especially the Los Angeles Chargers, and when you look at the Raiders as well, you'll see a lot of D's and F's, where for the Denver Broncos, our D's and F's are things that are like layups and easy things to improve upon. And you see that our players ranked our ownership group the 5th highest, which is just an awesome thing. They gave Sean Payton an A grade. So I know a lot of people have said like this Russell Wilson saga has shown that like no one wants to go to Denver, yet our players rank the Denver Broncos above anyone else in our division. And so I just loved scrolling along here and taking a look at something like the Los Angeles Chargers right here. F, 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 D plus, D plus, D minus, B, C plus, right? And that's not what you don't want your players giving you D's and F's on these different things. So Mike Kliss wrote a fantastic article. I highly suggest you take a look at his article for 9 News. And essentially he goes through and rates us and shows what it was last year versus what it is now, and where the big areas that we need to improve upon are. Sean Payton, when the comments in this NFLPA survey that went out, Sean Payton was ranked down not on his competence or how smart he was, but only 72% of the players thought that they made the best use of their time. That could simply be like, is he having them watch film too much? You know, what is he doing there? So he scored 27th overall, but you see he had higher scores there on that he listens to the players. So the big thing that they were scored down upon was how families are treated. And one of the things that Sean Payton actually instituted when he got there is there used to be like a family tent during training camp. I remember if you've been on the hill of Dove Valley there and watched the Broncos practice, like there used to be like a friends and family section. And then a lot of different squads will pay for families to travel. They will have a family suite where you can come and let your kids run around. And some teams actually will pay for childcare so that you got a bunch of little kids, you can actually sit and watch. You could watch the game while someone safe is watching your kids, which is I think a really cool thing. I think Phillip Rivers really put that to the test because you just don't have the manpower in this economy right now to be watching 40 kids for just Phillip Rivers, but that's a joke. So Denver Broncos, I think that's a really easy thing that we could improve upon. And, management's all about listening to your players and then, oh, you said this, so we're going to do that. This is the cheapest thing that the Broncos could fix. There's a lot of things that we're already doing that take far more manpower and take far more financial things that I think we will do. So easy thing right there. A lot of high scores there for the Denver Broncos and what we're doing with nutrition. One of the other really low score that we had was our locker room facilities, and the Denver Broncos have already announced that we are completely changing that. So our lowest score on here, we already have plans to fix, and so I think you'll see us go from, hey, we were 20th, now we're 16th. I think even just next year with that one change that's already underway, you could see us easily jumping into the top 10 with that, which is fantastic. One of the other interesting things was the strength coaches. I made a video about how I was really thrilled with our offensive line help over the year, and I thought some of the key injuries that we used to have, we haven't had, and obviously we had Virgil Green get hurt. We had Tim Patrick get hurt again, but for the most part, like we didn't have any of those like catastrophic injuries like to Javonte like we had the year before or Cortland Sutton. But interesting with Lauren Landau leaving, there are some players who ranked that lower than they did last year. So I think that'll be interesting just to see, is that an immediate reaction to a lot of people loved Lauren Landau and were incredibly high on him, and he was kind of like a mascot in a way. He's like a real jack dude, and a lot of people loved him. So the Broncos had less injuries this year. Is that just totally happenstance or fluky? So they ranked that low as well. Team travel was also kind of low as well, comparatively, but nothing like how much. And this, I'm equally as happy at how low the Chiefs score was as I am happy at how high the Broncos score was. So it's like a win-win in my book. It's fantastic. So one of the lowest ownership groups rating was the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Kansas City Chiefs' best player is a 36-year-old tight end. Like, if they don't have the culture to keep moving forward and Kelsey ages out and we know Father Time is undefeated and that hits quick, they're not going to have the culture or the salary cap flexibility with what they're paying Mahomes to rebuild around that. And the story here, Brooke Pryor illustrates in her tweet, was that the owner promised the players that there was going to be a huge renovation of the locker room, and they came back in the offseason, and all that had changed in the whole thing were the chairs in the locker room. And he's like, oh, sorry, you guys went too far in the playoffs, so we didn't have time to renovate your entire locker room, which is complete garbage. Like the Super Bowl is like February. So you have all February, March, April, May, June, July, preseason games don't start till August. So you got 6 months and all the money in the world, and you easily could get that done. It's not like you're waiting on snow or anything like that. It's an indoor locker room, and they couldn't get it done. So that is just fantastic news to look at how low a bunch of our rivals rated their squads versus how high the Denver Broncos rated our squad. And I know I have been accused of just being like way too toxically positive about this, but I'm just telling you, and this report card's telling you things are getting better. We are 16th in the league, and if you take out our lowest score with locker rooms and how we treat families, those are going up. And another thing that really knocked our score down under those facility thing was the mandatory hotel parking lot that for minicamp that the Denver Broncos had to park in this offseason. There were multiple cars stolen. And so that obviously rubs some dudes the wrong way of like, hey, you said I had to park here, and then you don't even have a security guard out there, and my car gets stolen. So everyone watching this in Denver, you can help improve Broncos culture. If you see something, say something. Like if you see somebody trying to steal a Range Rover, out of a La Quinta parking lot in Denver. You just call the police and let's help Broncos culture here. But fantastic to see. The Chiefs obviously scored super high with Andy Reid, but how long is he truly going to stick around there? He's getting towards the end of the line. He's one of the oldest head coaches left in the NFL. You got Kelsey getting older, and then they're ranking their ownership low. They're ranking their facilities low. That's fantastic. And then looking here, this was interesting how the Raiders rated their head coach. He was rated a D. That could have been at the time that this survey went out. Maybe they still weren't sure on who it was going to be, but the fact that the Chargers ranked Harbaugh an A makes me feel like maybe not everyone is as bought into the Raiders' new coach as we would maybe believe ahead of time. So tell me, which one of these makes you most excited? Is it the great news that the culture is improving in Denver, or are you even more happy that people aren't happy playing in Kansas City? They're not happy playing for the Los Angeles Chargers, which is essentially a home game for us. I know a lot of you were at that game in Las Vegas. A lot of you were at that game in Los Angeles. And who would you rather be right now than the Denver Broncos? That we have hit the bottom and we are bouncing back so fast, and I truly, truly believe it. I hope you all believe it too, because Broncos Country, it's time to giddy up. Also, I will not miss this one. Man, oh my goodness. I have really low ceilings in this. I'm sorry.